Hello there, Bunneh here, and welcome to a quick video discussing some of the main differences between the original ARK Survival Evolved and the newly remastered ARK Survival Ascended. This video is a direct result of a poll that I put out on the channel about a month ago asking what you guys would like to see first from ASA's release. While this video is certainly not all-inclusive, I hope to cover the main differences that the average player would encounter during their time playing the game. First and foremost are the visuals. Wildcard Studio essentially grabbed the Make It Beautiful knob and turned it so goddamn hard that I thought a velociraptor followed me to work this morning. I can honestly say that I was truly blown away by the visuals the first time that I encountered them, and while I am an individual that greatly prefers smooth gameplay mechanics over visuals, I do enjoy my eye candy. The rocks in ASA look so much more defined, porous, and detailed than in the previous game. Trees have a rough and rugged texture to them, and collapse with realistic weight and density when you cut them down. Foliage is lush and variable, really giving the feeling of density inside of forests. Unreal Engine 5's fluid mechanics make bodies of water feel responsive and natural, interacting with everything in the open environment and generating amazing-looking particle systems. Boom! The dynamic lighting has a much more realistic tone and spread to it than it did before, bouncing off of objects that you would expect it to in the real world. Not to mention, all of this stuff is impacted by ASA's incredible weather system, with rain having a huge impact on the feel of the environment, and dynamic fog banks that really add to the game's aesthetic without just obscuring your vision like before. Nighttime feels incredible, and you can actually see to navigate from the natural moonlight or artificial lighting given off from the obelisks. I said this once in my first impressions video, I'm confident that you could stand anywhere in this game, and it would be worthy of a screenshot or a desktop background. It is worth mentioning, though, that these graphics are really taxing on your system, and a lot of players are having extremely poor performance at launch. Hopefully they can sort out these issues pretty soon, and optimize settings a little better so that individuals can experience the game, as it's been a truly incredible experience so far to see the graphics cranked up like this. Up next is character creation, which received a complete overhaul from the old system. Not only are the character models and assets entirely different, but there are more customization options to choose from, and more freedom thanks to all the sliders. Just like with ASE, I have a sneaking suspicion that the size and gender of your character may impact your character's hitbox or gameplay experience, so I plan on making an entirely separate video discussing these differences. I made a video just like this for ASE, and if you never watched it, I essentially did a deep dive into testing and debunking common misunderstandings. Given all the changes to character customization, I think that another repeat video of that may be necessary. Up next is the UI, which is also completely revamped. It has the same general feel and navigation as the old one, but it seems much cleaner and easier to navigate. Scaling-wise, it's much smaller and unobtrusive, and little quality of life changes make the experience much more enjoyable. For example, when accumulating resources in ASA, there's no longer a giant string of text going across your screen and blocking your view, but rather just a small icon of the item followed by the number you've acquired. Item icons seem slightly more responsive and highlight when you hover over them. All of the old organizational options are here, but with the addition of the cosmetic tab for skins to help clean up the clutter. The map system has been completely revamped as well, and while I did enjoy the old school map your character would pull out, the new system is much more user-friendly and useful. You can zoom in and out of the map for easier navigation, and it also comes with built-in coordinates, which essentially eliminate the need for a GPS. They also revamped the whistle system to make it cleaner and easier to understand, and they added an in-game ping system that allows you to communicate with allies a little easier. I'm sure there are loads of other benefits that the UI has to offer, but that's something that I'm just going to have to experience over time with more gameplay and experience. ASA's camera system seems to be a subtle but nice quality of life improvement over ASE's. The third-person camera sits just a little farther back and higher than it did before, offering a larger field of view while playing. The transition between camera perspectives is much smoother as well, compared to that rapid, clunky transition from before. There's a bit of drag to the camera as well, which just helps to add to the weight and speed of your character. All of this camera tech applies while on the back of a creature as well, which helps to see a wider perspective of the game. There's even a new system called Photo Mode, which places a free-moving camera that you can control and place wherever you'd like. This new feature is great for screenshots, or in my case, content creation. I have a feeling I'm going to be using this thing for a lot of comedy sketches in the near future. Alright, next up are the movement and body mechanic changes, which are something that I noticed pretty early on. The new character models seem to have much more responsive and fluid movements and interact with the environment much better than they did before. Walking and running feels smoother and faster, and the foot kinematics when your character's on a sloped surface seem stickier.
Okay.
Jumping got one hell of an upgrade as well. Characters seem to be able to jump a little higher and farther than before, and don't seem to float like they used to. This makes clearing gaps and scaling sloped surfaces a little bit easier, which I am all for, because parkouring in ASE sucked harder than a bro core in debt. fall damage seems to be more forgiving with short drops, but is incredibly punishing with longer ones, maybe even more so than in ASE. At least the physics and weight of your dead character are much better than they were before, so you don't go rubber banding across the screen when you die. Player attributes underwent some major changes with ASA, with the most noticeable change being the complete removal of movement speed. I think that this change is going to simultaneously please half of the community and completely piss off the other half. On one hand, movement speed was an integral part of most builds because it allowed you to outrun creatures in PvE or PvP, but let's be honest, it was a bit out of hand at times. While the stat is entirely removed in ASA, your character's base movement speed does seem to be much faster than it was before, which should help to offset the loss a bit. While all of the other attributes seem to remain the same, the scaling is a bit different than before. For instance, investing 1 point into Fortitude used to provide you with 2 Fortitude, and now provides you with 4, but I'm unsure if this actually makes any difference, or if the scaling simply changed to balance the removal of movement speed. I may have to do a separate video on character attributes, just to explore what each one does exactly, and the impacts they have on gameplay. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see a video like that. Also, consider leaving this video a like and subscribing to the channel if you found it enjoyable or helpful so far. Okay, thanks! Next up are Engrams, which are not only easier to find and unlock thanks to the revamped UI, but also received a large cut in consolidation. For instance, unlocking thatch walls now also unlocks doors, doorways, and window frames. Previously, you would have to unlock all of this stuff individually, which was extremely clunky and very cluttered. Because of this consolidation and the removal of certain items such as the GPS, engram point costs have been adjusted and balanced. I'm unsure if other items have been removed or if the levels of unlocks have changed, but that's something we can all discover as time goes on. Up next is the Taming Tracking system, which became a whole lot more useful than it used to be. Previously, this system could only track creatures you were actively taming, but now it can be used to track creatures that you've already tamed. This small quality of life feature is quite honestly game-changing. I mean, think of how many times you've lost track of your tame because you've DC'd from the game, or got ripped off the back of your mount by a stupid fucking Microraptor that came flying out of nowhere with a personal vendetta against specifically you at this particular point in time, and now you have to respawn all the way back at the base and pray that you can get back to your tame that's god knows where, probably being eaten by a goddamn Caprosuchus. With the new system though, it's as easy as finding your tame in the list, clicking it, and viewing your map to see its location and coordinates. Admins everywhere are sighing in relief at this feature. Speaking of making life easier for admins, ASA features more intuitive console commands. When you begin to type in the command that you want to run, the game will start to auto-populate commands based on the code that you've written. While this may not do a whole lot for the average player, it's massive for server admins or content creators like myself who are running commands constantly. I can't tell you how many times I forgot the exact wording or specific spacing of a particular command and had to tab out of the game to look it up. But luckily now, I can film all of my stupid toilet sketches with minimal interruptions. Alright, last but certainly not least are the new structures and building mechanics. ASA improved upon ARK's original building system immensely, not only from a visual perspective, but from an easier to use and functional perspective. Like I mentioned before, a lot of the structures have been consolidated into a single engram point purchase, but what I didn't mention was that the crafting and placement of these items has also been consolidated. For example, say you want to completely wall in this little 2x2 structure and have 1 door and 2 windows. In ASE, you would need 5 walls, 1 door frame, 2 window frames, 1 door, and 2 windows. In ASA, all you need to craft is 8 walls and 3 doors. The new building system allows you to simply cycle between the different options available in a category and place it down where you want it. The different categories of cyclable structures include walls, door frames and window frames, doors and windows, and stairs, ramps, and roofs. The snapping of these structures are also vastly improved. Not only does it feel clean and precise, but cycling between snap points is now consistent and reliable, with visual tooltips to let you know which snap point you're on. You can also raise and lower foundations before you place them down, so no more crazy pillar contraptions. All I can say is thank God, because I was so sick of lowering foundations on rafts. Plus, they added a goddamn secret door disguised as a wall. A wall door, one might say. Not to be confused with Mordor. That's an entirely different thing. Not very welcoming to hobbits from what I gather. Oh yeah, and did I mention that object snapping is a thing now? For instance, storage boxes will snap onto nearby walls for clean, precise placement, and can be stacked on top of one another for more storage. Anyways, that about wraps up this video. I'm sure there are more features or improvements from ASE that I missed, but as I said in the beginning, I felt that these were the most impactful to most players. If you know of any other improvements that I missed, be sure to mention them in the comments below. If you found this video enjoyable or helpful, then please be sure to leave it a like down below, subscribe to the channel with notifications on so you can stay up to date on all of my latest content, join the Discord for a community of like-minded woodland creatures, and please keep leaving me comments because they warm my little Bunneh heart. A special thank you goes out to all the Bunnehs who support me on Patreon. You guys are amazing, and if you'd like to support the channel and the content that I create, you can now do so for as little as $1 a month. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.